Here is the representative of Hong Kong A, Icon. Thank you, Icon.
Aware that it's a massive risk under the Hong Kong National Security Law in 2021. The fourth day of the marathon-style prosecution were extremely inhuman. Excuse me. The marathon I'm referring to is not the marathon that the Legislative Council declared to support the Hong Kong National Security Law in London, which should not be welcome in any democratic country at all. As a result of those 4 days of 35-hour-long pursuit, a number of candidates were deprived of the right to rest, and at least expected and has to be taken to the hospital. The regime focused on suppress those 43 The regime focused on suppressing these 43 candidates because they have the popular mandate of the Hong Kongers for democratic election. It's a symbolic act of Hong Kong nation uniting for our freedom of our fatherland. No matter how much the CCP suppress it, it still cannot take away the crucial meaning of the popular mandate, which is not only a political persecution of those 43 individuals, but also an insult to the 610,000 Hong Kongers who participate in the vote. The unity of the people is often what the totalitarian fear most, and the CCP knows this better than we do. And in experiencing the struggle of the past, the national consciousness of Hong Kongers has awakened like a Pandora box, and oppressed and against the dictatorship has become part of our DNA. When we have awakened the fact that I am Hong Kongers, there's no turning back. We must recapture Hong Kong's sovereignty by any means before the CCP remove Hong Kongers from the dictionary. People should not be unfair to the government. Government should be unfair to their people, because Hong Kongers are the master of this land. And we are not the tool just by the Winnie the Pooh to consolidate his totalitarian regime. Since 2019, more than 10,000 protesters, including me, has been arrested. 1,000 of them has been imprisoned and deprived of their freedom, with the number of political prisoners even exceeding that of a tyrant state like Iran, and total sentence of 772 years. Can you imagine that? Today's demonstration proves that Hong Kongers are not away from the white terror, not only in London, but also in other cities in the UK, and even in Europe, the US, Canada, Australia, and other parts of the world. Our voices should be heard here, and this is the responsibility for the British government to hear what we say, and his responsibility to ensure that the Sino-British Joint Diplomatic Contract is adhered to. From the Manchester accident last year, the spy police in the US, and the CCP secret police station rollout can be concluded that China is a physical threat to the freedom we have. So please do what you're good at to make the world aware of the human rights issue in Hong Kong. Like precisely what we all did today. Thank you.
過度香港，
時代革命
Free Hong Kong。
，Free Hong Kong。
Thank you, Ivan. Thanks for sharing from Ivan. So we have our first speaker, Simon. Simon is the co-founder of the Hong Konger in Britain, and now he has his sharing to address us. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you. Thank you all the volunteers to organize this protest and rally. And we should be really grateful and glad that we still see many people that still stand here to show the voice of the people. We can't shy away from the injustice back in the hometown. Hong Kong shared a historical linkage with Britain. The UK has ultimate historical commitment to the freedom of Hong Kong people. All around the world witnessed the fall of the freedom back in Hong Kong. So that's why it's important to show international community to stand for the same value. We can't let those people down. We can't let those people being innocent now in prison, in cell, just because what they said, just because what the flag they waved, just because what the song they sung, just because what the necklace they spread, just because what the faith they hold. It's inhumane. When we see the Hong Kong official visit London, try to enhance the economic cooperation, we try to run the business as usual and pretend nothing happened. But the blood had been shed, sacrifice had been made. Many people, they stand against the establishment just because they want to have a fair society, democratic society, have a decent right to vote, have a decent say, to stand against the dictators who are holding the power, and many lackey dogs kneeling down to the power, getting benefit, getting title, getting many of those, they're now becoming rich. And that's so-called the China model. And our Hong Kong as a city to have to showcase what have the so-called authoritarian value of China to the world. We can't let Hong Kong fall becoming a showcase to the authoritarian regime to the world. So that's why we stand here. We share the values with liberal democracies. We understand so many flaws, but at least we recognize the flaws of democracy. We could criticize the government. We could criticize the officials who hold power, because we as a people who hold government, of those dignitaries hold the power to account. And that's so important because we recognize we are not perfect. So that's why we recognize our imperfect and make improvement. But back in Hong Kong, only one way we can do, we cannot instigate hatred to the government. We cannot criticize police officers who abuse their power over people. If we do, we're now in prison. Even many of us now being in exiles, one of the populous countries would be in the UK. Many of us are with fear because we worry about our own safety. We don't know who will grasp onto the police, who will spread the information, who join the protest, who participate in the rally, who criticize the government to the police officers. We don't know. We feel disappointed. We feel furious about the police officers. What the people expect. The Hong Kong police officers should serve the people. But instead, they serve the private interests of dictators now living in Beijing. Those people, they have been selected not with the mandate of people. If you say you just care about your own life, you also should care about you are the human with dignity. The world is not perfect. We're now facing lots of challenges. Authoritarian regimes from Russia, from China, that's going to be more assertive, more aggressive. They wage war in East Europe. Then they threatened the peace in Asia. We need to stand together with other liberal democracies. We can foresee, if we step back, the war will happen to Taiwanese people that we care, because we share the same language, we have similar culture, but we care. The Taiwanese people, they should be with peace. They should enjoy the freedom to criticize their own government. We remember how hard they achieved democracy, how many people they died for democracy. We remember those people in South Korea, how they fight hardly for the justice, for democracy now we have seen today. And this is history. If we believe the people should progress towards a more just, fair society, we should stand together. The history is not the end. The history is repeating. When we see decades ago, many people, students, teachers, farmers, workers, they wanted to have their own rights. They have been persecuted by military governments. Many bloods, many people they shed. And the trauma is now being impacted generation by generation in many kind of countries. And now the trauma is commonly shared with Hong Kong people. No matter now they're in prison, no matter now they cannot leave from their hometown, and maybe many of those now in exiles will living in as a diaspora. We consolidate our voice as identity of Hong Kongers. That is very important why we are now in central London, just next to the Parliament, because we want to share our desperate voices to the British locals and tourists. When the people that visit here, when the people that come for work, when the people that want to get on their own better life, but we still remember many people that are now living in trauma, living in fear, that we cannot shy away. And that's why we need to protect the Britain. Many historical figures in exiles, they progress. They achieved a better society. Maybe not now today, but maybe 100 years later, maybe decades later. When we see what we have done in here, we stand against establishment. We stand against the trend. We stand against the resources. We stand against the power. But only one thing we have is the faith. The faith for humanity. The faith for people. Because we focus not just about the city. If we think that it's just about the city could inhumanize. The city could dehumanize the people. That was the mindset of the Beijing dictatorship. The most important thing is the national sovereignty, it's stability, it's the system, it's the regime, it's their own personal benefit. But no, we focus on people. We focus on who living in the city, sharing with the same value. Even now we are not living in Hong Kong. We focus on Hong Kongers. We focus on people. That's why we would not let any individual left behind. Even one person, even one day. They're now in prison just for what they thought. That is intolerable. We will still stand here to speak for them until they're all being released. We could be threatened. We could feel fear. But if we are with this fear, the UK will be with no freedom. Because we seek refuge in here, we seek freedom in here, we stand here, one day we hope we could unface our mask. We could unveil our mask. We could witness with each other who you are, because we could be brave to say, we are here, stand for freedom. We are here, cannot put up with the government, persecute our people. But we are fear. We can understand that we are fear because the national security law has been newly imposed back in our hometown to claim they could rule the world. They could be with lots of informants even in London. They could track our activity. They could recognize our face. Even you are British citizens. Even you are humans living in the UK, passing by here, you could be monitored. That is a fear. If we are with fear, this suppressive law is effectively exist in here in the UK. So the most important thing that we should do, we should be brave. We should stand together outside and here. We should exhaust all opportunities to tell to the people, Chinese government suppressing over the people, sending political dissidents, human rights lawyers, pro-democracy activists in jail. We would not forget. We would not kneel down to this autocratic power just for money. The City of London just over there. Many investment banks cooperating with autocratic regimes. Many professionals, many civil servants to try to leave a backdoor to cooperate with the dictatorship. We need to remember, we need to take the lesson from history. The Hong Kong officials for finance come here to visit. They visit the Guildhall. They visit the City of London. Many protesters try to stop that. Try to tell the British diplomats, try to tell the British officials not to receive the officials representing the dictatorship. They're trying to come here, spreading out the free air ticket, ask British people to visit back to Hong Kong, ask the foreign professionals to visit back to Hong Kong. They say, let's move on. There's nothing happens. Now it's back to stability. Hong Kong is Hong Kong, still economic city, still vibrant. When you see the city line, the skyline, still very beautiful. But how about the people? How about those people now maybe cannot share with you living in a high skyscraper, enjoying your own private office? They're now in prison. They're now in personal cell. They're now being isolated. They're now being in darkness. Just because they want to have a fair society. Just because they share different value and opinion with those so-called high-class dignitaries and officials. No. In the UK, we talk about class because we have history. But the UK is also the first time ever constitutional democracy. We are mixed. But we believe the history maybe sometimes is gradual and slow, but still progressive. We believe even the House of Lords, because they're not democratically elected, they could have some say, but they don't have the final say. Because the people's mandate laid on the House of Commons. Even the British monarchy needs to respect the British people. That's why Hong Kong, we focus on our own people. If we say we want to achieve better democracy, we wanted to get more votes. Some people said, you need to talk with Beijing. You need to talk to those people living in Zhongnanhai in Beijing. But why? The people is the main and only actors in society. Xi Jinping is just a human being. But he might be different with you because he owns more power than you. He could decide who was sent to jail, but not you. But he is mortal, human being. We are also human beings. Remember why the powers would be laid upon the Chinese Communist Party. Because 100 years ago, a bunch of revolutionary figures tried to achieve better society. But those bunch of people with idealism, but corrupted, but fall because they own power. 100 years later, the people voice out again. And this so-called Communist Party, Chinese Communist Party, if they've been abusing their own power over people, one thing must happen. This regime will be buried by the people themselves. And that's not one-off incident. That's not the end. We will see. If we step back from the fall of the freedom in Hong Kong, we already see they would not step back. They will step forward. We will see the imbalance of power in Asia. We will see now the belligerent, militarily, to the Taiwanese democracy. We will see the more aggressive to South China Sea. We need to stand with our allies of liberal democracies together. We need to rebuild the checks and balance, because Hong Kong, for many, many years, we tried to showcase to the world we could coexist with China, because China is going to be reformed, because China is going to be open, because China is going to be more free. As people get richer, they could have more chance to visit the UK. But sorry, what you have seen, so many corrupt officials, with their principally children, owning the privilege and power, visit the UK, settle down in the UK, moving the access to here. They are abusing the economic benefit from people in China and in Hong Kong, through Hong Kong, to get the benefits in the West, in the UK. We are being fooled. We are being cheated. What we are now fighting for is need to stop this aggression. We need to tell to the world, we need to tell to the City of London, if you're lawyers, if you're businessmen, we need to stand for our basic professionalism and principle. If you're lawyers, you need to remember, you serve the people. You share the social responsibility. If you're a businessman, you can't kneel down just because of your own interest of business. You need to stand with all those people. That is very, very, very important. We will place our pressures on the international community. We are British nationals. As we stand here, we request our parliamentarians to keep voice out for the freedom of Hong Kong, and even the freedoms of those Chinese people and many other people. We also really wanted to let you know, those people that cannot wait, those people now want day after one day, they're aging, they're failing, they're hungry, they're human life. We don't even know how they are. We don't even know how they live. They are the human life. We need to rescue them. If the government try to pretend nothing happened, try to be civilized, act civilized, but they close and shut down the door, having a domestic abuse, beating up people, threatening the people. We cannot just see the facade. We cannot just see they wear in a best suit. We cannot just see, oh, they're the officials. How about those people behind the door that the officials shut down? You never ever could see. We still have a limited access to information so we know what's going on in Hong Kong. But how about after 5 years? The Great Firewall on the internet closed all the access to information, try to fool the people, try to control the information, try to dish out lots of resources to propaganda department, to let you believe China model is good. The mass infrastructure is developing so fastly. The UK is failing. Racism is everywhere. Why Hong Kong people move to the UK? Just being racially abused by the white people. They try to sow the division amongst the UK society. They try to expose all the resources of propaganda. They try to classify us as second-class citizens in the UK. We admit, we recognize there are so many social problems now in the UK, but we would not shy away. We face it, not like Hong Kong officials. Shut the door, pretend nothing happened. And selling their China model becoming more powerful, more confident. No. One day, the inhumane story still exists and happens in here. In our hometown, we never ever shy away just because we want to speak so-called good story of Hong Kong, good story of China. No. We are the person who wake up. And we wake up with all of you. So please, step out of your comfort zone. Listen to the voice of Hong Kong people. Tell to the people living in the Whitehall, living in the House of the Westminster, living in the City of London, living many of those here. But we're now in South Bank with art, with culture. Arts and culture show the good value, virtue of human society. We perform. That's not just about the drama. History is drama. People's drama. We're living in historical drama. We're developing the new story. That is art. Art represents and showcases what is the good value of the future for our society. So we have a role in South Bank, and we believe in the UK. Karl Marx lived here 100 years ago. He never ever could get back to Russia. He never ever could get back to Germany. But when he was in exile in the UK, he buried in here his idealism, his thoughts, affecting the world. Even maybe some good thoughts of him have been abused by those dictators who are abusing the power. Again, Hong Kong people living in here, we diaspora, spitting out the thoughts, many more philosophers, thinkers, activists, human rights lawyers, set up the new vibrant societies in here, mixing with the UK society. We are speaking the new thoughts. We're seeing the future. We believe one day, maybe our next generation will be British citizens, but we never ever forget why we have come here. Our children, our next generation will remember our ancestors, our dads and mom come here because the tragedies back in hometown, the police brutality, the political persecutions, generation by generation, why do people come to Hong Kong from mainland China? why did people come to the UK from Hong Kong? The tragedies continued. The inhumanities continued. That is the time for our generation to stop it. We can't let our next generation, our children, still need to live in exiles, need to leave the UK for other countries. So, the new duty of us, we speak our Hong Kong story, we also need to protect the UK. That is important. So please, just keep fighting on for Hong Kong democracy. Let me finally say one slogan. 光復香港，光復香港 ，Liberate Hong Kong, Liberate Hong Kong. Revolution of our time. That is the time for revolution. That is the time for saying stop and no to more aggressive dictatorship in Beijing, in China. That is the time. Remember the date. Remember 3 years ago, we fought for this on the streets, and we will continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon. And now we are finished our first location. We are going to move to our next location to do the silent standing. If you want to join us, please walk with us. And we're just going to the London Eye, and it's around 15 minutes walk away. So, yeah.
我哋一高拉緊嘅，
高拉緊嘅，我哋而家係一個地點。咁啊，然後我可以用 banner 行先，跟住咁我哋就跟住呢一位夾仔咗我一齊行。咁啊，大家就都希望啦，
大家應該都明白啦，咁會有個 privacy 嘅 concern，咁所以我哋而家就訪問一位義工啦，咁就大家可以聽聽佢而家喺現場咧就大概幫緊手做緊啲咩嘢啦，佢感受係點樣樣嘅。你貴姓？英文名 ？X。OK。今日過嚟係大概幫手做啲咩咧？
派傳單、講解就夠啦。
咁我見你同沿途嘅路人咧，佢哋都有啲問題喎。咁你係點樣同我哋分享啊？香港要47人初選群，或者而家香港嘅情況？
就係同佢哋講翻什麼嗰47個人因咩事啦？係就因為嘗試去做呢個立法會議員嘅候選人就被
其實你覺得 local 英國人對而家香港嘅情況啊，同埋呢啲比較重大嘅事件，佢哋了解有幾多？即係同佢哋溝通嘅過程入面。
Probably they have quite an idea about this, and they feel sorry about Hong Kong.
Okay. Do they support us? For example, now besides maybe Muslim or other immigrants from other country, they usually protest in UK. But now Hong Kong people is a new group in this protest activities. So what do they think? They support us or they have other thoughts?
One local say, actually in British, the British is trying to limit people protesting ability also. It's not just happening in Hong Kong. Therefore, people have to fight for it.
Okay, got it. 唔該曬你 ，thank you。咁我哋今日見到咧，大概我諗有。 介意接受訪問啊？我係大紀元時報嘅，講兩句。今日點解過嚟參加呢個遊行啊？遊行咧？
支持47案嘅而家被困喺監。
OK。
我哋住 Reading 嘅。
OK，好。咁你覺得有咁嘅必要要行出嚟，去繼續支持47個即係初選嘅議員？點解咧？
因為我哋已經冇得喺香港發聲，所以就嚟到英國咁有機會就會支持咯。
OK， 好，唔該晒。介意講兩句嗎？係大紀元時報嘅，係啦。今日點解今日落雨都過嚟參加遊行嘅？
如果我哋唔嚟，邊個嚟
？OK，
係嘛？唔通等香港一班手足嚟咩
？OK， 好。咁你覺得其實喺英國啦，我哋上個星期同埋今日咧都一直舉行嗰個為47人初選案密站嘅活動，你覺得有冇作用？
有用㗎，如果個唔出聲先至冇作用。
OK， 咁你覺得點樣可以再凝聚翻香港人或者係 local 喺英國嘅手足，大家去繼續關注呢件事咧？
我自己個人咧就會見到有時見到外國人咧，無論任何情形底下都會話俾你聽點解咁多香港人喺度啦。咁等佢哋知道中國共產黨有幾撲街咯。咁同埋希望多啲手足佢哋唔好驚咯，唔好驚白色恐怖啦。係咯，而家佢就係拉人係諗住有白色恐怖去打人。
咁你同喺呢度嘅英國 local 嘅人去傾嘅時候，你覺得佢哋對香港嘅認知有幾多？
年紀大嗰啲會清楚啲嘅。咁因為我自己住喺啲 retirement house 啊，好多都係上咗年紀70零歲嗰啲公公婆婆啊，咁一同佢講，佢都知道香港發生咩事。反而後生嗰啲平時我哋做街站派傳單嘅時候，後生嗰啲係少啲人知道啦，但係都話翻俾你聽，佢都會知道，都會支持香港人。
OK， 唔該晒你。大家睇下有隻狗仔都幾得意啊！呢隻羊咁樣啊，好可愛。大紀元時報幫唔幫你接受訪問？
哇！
幫唔幫你接受訪問？大紀元時報嘅，可唔可以講兩句？
We are Hong Kongers. Today we are here to against the dictatorship of the CCP, and we want to speak out for the Hong Kong political prisoners who are facing jail and losing their freedom. Numbers of Hong Kong political prisoners, they are facing the unfair, untrue trials, and we would like to invite you to stand together with the Taiwanese, the Tibetans, Uyghurs, even the Ukrainians. We are on the same front line to against the dictatorship, even the communism. And we would like to invite you, if you have any thought or sharing to want to share with the group or the public, we are welcome you to be here to be our speaker. And as I know, we have a participant want to speak out and share his mind.
咁我哋嚟呢度咧，就係成個遊行嘅第二個London Eye